You may have played poker, but playing poker in Texas is a different animal. This is the Texas Poker Podcast with Tyler and Clint.
Hello, this is the Texas Poker Podcast. I'm Tyler. This is Clint.
What's up, y'all?
And we are back with episode 74.
Episode 74. So we played at 101 Katy last night. I went and shot pool with a couple friends. Tyler bailed out on us and then met me to play poker later.
Okay, to be fair, let me just explain to you my thought process. At least I'm bailing out, right?
Okay.
Maybe people understand this, maybe not. But I don't play pool, but I have played pool, right? I used to go to Slick Willies all the time.
Wait, okay. Stop. You got to clarify. I don't play pool. I have played pool. I used to go to Slick Willies all the time. How in the world did you go to Slick Willies all the time and not play pool?
No, I used to go a lot in high school.
Okay.
Right? But I was thinking, okay, maybe we play like 30 minutes, an hour max, is what I was thinking. It's kind of all the pool I got in me. And then whenever you guys were talking about it, you're like, well, I'm at least going to play for 2 to 3 hours. I was like, oh, God, dog. I'm like, I'm out. I just don't have 3 hours of pool in me. At the minimum.
Okay, but 2 hours. Well, okay, you could have met us. It's like the Slick Willies over there is connected to the poker room. You could have met us, and then if it's too much pool for you, if 2 games is just way too much for you.
That's what I say. 2 hours is exactly how long it takes me to clear the table.
Then, you could have gone and played poker. You'd have to bail. You're like, I don't play pool. I'm like, well, nobody does anything until they, do it.
So then I end up meeting you there pretty late. And when I get there, the game is pitiful. It is all the good players from all the other, there is no action player when I sit down. Everyone I recognize, everyone seems to be playing pretty reasonable. And that's really not what you're looking for whenever you sit down, right?
Oh, well, I think this comes to a pretty good topic of, I texted you at that point. I'm like, you just want to leave at this point. Because here's the problem. If it's just a bunch of players who are playing nitty or decent players, the rake if it's a rake game in Houston, it's higher than in Vegas, which means I don't know that it's profitable or beatable at that point.
Especially when no one is. There's no easy money there. And like I was telling you, even the players who were acting they were a good time. Like there were some players who were having a good time, but they weren't giving the money away by any means. They were,
well, even those players were later. Because I think you're talking about the guy to my left and the guy and those players showed up later than that.
That's true. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. There was no, I don't want to say no gambling, but it was, I took down some pots with a $12 C bet. So,
yeah, it's it was kind of good for what I've been really kind of focusing my study on being active from the cutoff and the button and hijack. So, it's good to trying to steal blinds and stuff, but really, in all honesty, I'm not certain. If you're playing at tables like that where you think there's really not that much of an edge, then all it is who's coolering who.
That's what the guy to my right said. He said, this table is just waiting for 2 train wrecks or 2 trains to have a wreck. And I told him, I said, well, you better definitely want to be on the winning side of that because it's going to take you about 8 hours to get your money back.
So, if that's the case, then you're not really playing poker for profit. You're just gambling at that point, right?
How so?
Well, if everybody's kind of aware, everybody's kind of nitty, there's not a ton of action, and the rake is higher than, it should be, then it's just a bunch of players just paying the rake. You're not really playing poker for profit at that point.
Yeah, I was trying to, but I definitely wasn't. That's true.
Because for there to be for you to play poker for profit, there's got to be an edge somewhere, correct?
True, but I think it goes back to that thing where everyone says they always think they have an edge, but I think the edges are so small in a game like that I guess like you're saying it's kind of a mute point, and the rake is so big versus the edge or the hypothetical edge.
That was kind of my thought. It's I think it was not a good idea for table selection for us. like I say, we got there, so I'm not certain what we're doing, but versus playing there for 5 hours and driving 20 minutes like Richmond 101. I think that probably is like our worst play of the night, right?
I mean, based on the end result, yeah. Well, I mean, you text me about going back to Doghouse because it's near both of our houses, but they didn't even have a game going at that time. It was pretty late. They had a PLO game, but not a Hold'em game.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, like, I just got here, but I already know. I mean, I recognize all these players as good players, not people who are going to be giving it away. And I was like, man, I mean, I just got here, but if they had a game, we probably should have won.
Well, and I mean, and to be fair, my idea was, well, if I can get up like, 100, 150, and I've been playing, enough to where it's not like a hit and run, I'm not going to stay at this game all night. I'm going to go and, maybe at that point Doghouse will have something or Paramount. But, I mean, I just was scratching and clawing the entire night.
I was about to say, it's a great plan if you can do step one.
Yeah, I mean, I added on very early because I went down, and, I mean, I got above even for, like, 15 minutes by, like, up, like, $40, and that was pretty much the bet. I mean, that was me getting paid off on a hand I actually shouldn't have gotten paid off on, and that was let's say, it was just a very kind of scratch and claw your way up to being able to do anything last night.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the first interesting hand was for me. I had that one where I 3-bet King Queen and got 4 bets, so I just had to fold. That was pretty lame.
Yeah. I found this kind of interesting because it wasn't a squeeze play, was it? You were just actually standard 3-betting it, right?
Yes.
Was it suited?
Yes.
Okay, it's not always a 3-bet from you, so I was kind of curious.
Well,
about
no,
that.
it's normally not, but I was on the button straddle.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like that would lend me toward more 3-bets.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, I like King Queen suited as a 3-bet regardless. I mean, I think it's a good 3-betting hand. So I just kind of curious because it was one of those that's not always in your range for 3-betting. I know for squeezing probably, but not always 3-betting.
That's true. But yeah, the being in the straddle definitely had an impact on that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. We played, like 5-6 hours last night. This is how dull my session was. I did not 3-bet one time in 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
Never had a 3-betting hand. I had a couple that could have like done a squeeze, but then they just weren't squeezing spots. I mean, like I say, not card dead, had decent Broadway suited hands, just never gotten to like a spot like that.
I guess we might as well just get into the hand of the night. I mean, it's definitely the most interesting hand.
It is one of the most interesting hands I've seen in a while. I was confused, I'll say that.
Okay, I was definitely in the straddle, the button straddle, if I was in position.
Okay.
And I had King 5 suited, and a guy from early position raises, but he didn't make it the normal like 30-35.
Okay.
I think he made it like 20. And I was already in for 6. I was like, well, I feel like a suited king is in my defending range.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I don't button straddle, and it's hard to find like a lot of material to study. I do feel like it's got good playability. I would think, right?
That was the hope.
Yeah.
I call. I think one other player calls. The flop comes 5-10. Do you remember the other card?
I do not. Maybe was it under a 5? I think it was 5-10-7. I mean,
deuce. It was deuce.
5-10 deuce. Okay.
Yeah, it was a deuce because I remember thinking, it was a deuce. And he bet small, like I think he bet like 35.
Okay.
And I was like, well, this could just be a C bet.
I think if you're going to play King 5 suited,
I did have a backdoor flush draw.
I feel like if you play King 5 suited, you flop a pair with a backdoor flush draw, you have to defend here with a call.
Especially for so small. I mean, it's $6 pot, 35. I mean, that's not that small.
Really
Yeah, I'm
saying. But I mean, it's a standard. I mean, someone could do this with Ace King. A lot of you're beating a lot of like Miss Broadways here, so I think you have to call here.
I agree. I call. The turn is another 10, not a spades though. So
Okay.
I don't have the flush draw. He checks, and I think, well, maybe I could take a stab at this, and it was my thought. I think I bet 65 or 70.
This is where I just don't like I don't like this play that much because you're folding out everything that beats you. Or I'm sorry, you're folding out everything that you beat, and everything that calls is beating you. Correct?
Oh, I'm not saying it's a good play. I'm just telling you the story.
Okay, I got you.
I mean, this is what happened.
Okay.
Because I'd played with this guy before, and I was thinking I could get him to lay something like, you were saying, like 9s, 10s down. Not 10s. 9s, jacks, 8, something like that.
Okay.
But you put him on like queens, kings, aces.
Well,
which I did not.
I put them on an overpair. Yeah.
Yeah. But like we said at the end of it, 9s were the same as aces here at the end.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the river was? It was complete brick. I remember that.
It was a complete brick. I don't remember what it was. I know it was under a 10. It didn't connect anything really. It was just about as brick as it could be.
I believe I bet it was either 200 or 250. I remember it was a pretty big bet here on the river. He checks, I bet.
Yeah.
It must have been 250.
I mean, this is the weird. Should we talk about like your spot here before you say what the result is?
Go for it.
Okay, so this one So okay, here's the thing: is you're doing this not for value as a bluff.
100% doing this as a bluff.
So I mean, you're trying to get them off of. It's got to be an overpair, right?
9s plus.
9s plus. I mean, I think it's very hard to represent a 10 here. On the spot, I will say this. I think you have to bet this as a bluff to win the pot. Because once he calls that turn bet, I definitely think he's got... that's what I think really sold me that he's an overpair here. Is I did not think he had a 10. He had to have something when he calls that turn bet. So I do think you have to bluff here, but I think it's very hard to sell that you just hit a random 10. That's where I did not. I was thinking maybe too much showdown value to whatchamacallit to do it, but I don't know. Maybe there isn't that much showdown value.
I was about to say, I did not think there was much showdown value.
Yeah,
here.
I think you're right there. But okay, let's go ahead and go to the result.
So he tanks forever, and then he says that he can't beat anything. I was like, "Oh, thank God!" But then he calls anyway, and I'm like, "Well, obviously I lose." So I tell him, "Well, I have a 5," and he says a 5 is good. I'm telling him, "Well, I have a great kicker," but
that was one of the weirdest showdowns I have ever seen. Because I mean, when he calls, so obviously he has ace king here, right? I mean, he never showed, but it's the only thing that makes any sense.
What if he had a deuce?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. That's I mean, I guess he could have had 4s or 3s or something like that. I mean, so this was just. I was just floored when you showed a 5 and it was good.
Yeah, it was like, it's good. I was like, oh my God.
I was like,
you want to talk about value. That's how you get value, Clint. Write that down. Get a pen.
Yeah. We need to get Bar Hansen on the line now to see what he thinks about this value. You take bottom pair for 3 straights and a raise spot.
No. 4th pair. There's a deuce out there.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
It's a.
I think that was one that went off the rails, and I mean, you want to talk about just the horseshoe being right in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah, that was that was the weirdest hand I've seen in a while. When you showed down a 5 and it's good, just shocking.
I told him very standard play there. And then after that, this was a very frustrating hand. I had pocket 10s in position. I mean, I was playing a bunch of stuff in position tonight. I mean, weird I couldn't win. Pocket 10s in position. Maybe I need to be raising more with pocket 10s. So I remember I raised and everyone called, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess based on the results. So Or no, sorry. Another person raised pretty big, and I only flatted behind. Maybe I need to be 3-betting tens. What do you think about 3-betting tens in position?
I think that players with more experience are going to say yes, and I
But
don't tend to. It's kind of the jacks thing. I think when you're 3-betting a lot of hands, you're folding out a lot of hands that you have great equity against, and you're getting called by a lot of hands that you don't really want. I mean, that don't really help you that much. So I don't see the point. I mean, I know, like, when I do the study material and everything, a lot of it does say 3-betting tens is a good, especially in position here. I kind of like the call. I mean, maybe at some point I find some reasoning that really helps me understand it, why you would 3-bet here, but I kind of like the call.
So here's my question to you, which I don't really, I don't know the answer right off the top of my head because I haven't looked at this spot in a minute, but I thought, based on what I was looking at, that you're supposed to 3-bet bigger out of position to incentivize people to fold, so you don't have to play out of position, correct?
That's 100% right, from what I understand.
Okay. So I would be 3-betting smaller with tens in position? Is that the thought? Or would that lend you to a flat? So if I'm in the small blind here or in the big blind, I'm obviously 3-betting big if I'm 3-betting.
Right, because because you want to fold more often than if you're in position.
But if I'm in position, well, I mean, I just flatted because I was in position. I mean, I don't know if tens are in my 3-betting range, honestly.
I think the flat is fine. Like, well, it was a raised pot. Did anybody call in between?
One person.
I mean, I think it functions better as a squeeze than it does than a regular 3-bet. Because, I mean, one, you have to bet more. You're going to get more folds. And you're likely to fold out people who do have some equity, especially people who call these single raise pots. A lot of them have these Broadway cards that do have equity against you pretty good.
All right. Well, I'll keep going with the hand. I mean, that's an interesting spot, though. Definitely something. I didn't think about it in the moment, but in hindsight, I think it's a better 3-betting spot. But I've only flat. The flop comes 5 deuce 3 with a heart draw.
Okay, it's a great flop for you, it seems like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, I lied to you. I was out of position because I checked. Yeah.
You were in the big blind or something?
Yeah, I should have 3-bet for sure, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's definitely what happened. Yep, all that before, still true. Not what happened in this story, though.
Okay.
I only flatted when I should have definitely 3-bet. But then the pre-flop raiser only checks, and it checks through. So then I think, okay, I need to be blasting most turns here.
100%. Well, yeah.
Most turns.
Yeah, let's see what the turn is.
I'm at least betting, right? I mean, is my thought. I'm going to take the betting lead.
My problem is, like, if it's an ace, king, or queen,
well, okay.
then it's like there's a lot of, like, just randomly hits these Broadway, but okay, yeah.
Right. Yeah. On a good card, I'm going to be taking the betting lead.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
The worst card in the deck peels off as the 4 of hearts. So the flush draw comes in, and the board is now 2, 3, 4, 5.
So I don't think the flush draw matters.
Okay, right. Yeah, I did. Your theory was pretty good on that because most people would bet their flush draw.
Yeah, I think most people bet the flush draw. So I don't think, and I mean, a flush is hard to make. So I mean, if they check through and a heart comes, I think the flush draw does not matter to me as much. Obviously, the problem is like any ace is a straight now, right?
Correct. I check. It checks through again. I'm like, well, dang. The river's the 10 of hearts.
God, this is...
And then the pre-flop raiser bets like pot of like $60. Other guy folds back on me.
I mean, you might as actually... I guess I like maybe a bet on the turn, but I think you save money by not. Because... I mean, anything that's betting here probably is like the single king of hearts, maybe, or like some type of heart. I mean, my theory might be here, and this is kind of a reach. The hearts I'm not that scared of, and it seems like an ace might have bet the flop, like ace 10.
Do you think I should have called this?
No, I think it's
Okay,
too
well,
late to call.
it sounded like you were leaning going down that road.
No, I mean, this is too light. I mean, when you're beat by 4 of hearts, like a random 7 of hearts, I mean, it could be a bluff. It could be good, but I think it's just way too light to call here.
Yeah, I end up showing, and then the dealer's like, so that's a fold? As I threw the cards in the muck, I'm like, I mean, what does it look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fold. So I folded that one.
Well, I mean, I was wondering, so it makes any aces a straight, but I'm thinking, so I think a lot of aces might bet the flop, right? Like a flush draw. Like, say it's like ace jack or something. You have 2 overcards and a gutter to a straight. I don't know. That could check pretty easily. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that you can do much here.
Yeah, I mean, I folded, and then I kind of got whittled down for a long time. I mean, I got whittled down for the longest of times. Ended up leaving with only like $100 and something. So, pretty big loss there.
Yeah, that's a.
I was so carded, I couldn't even do anything at the end. Oh, I mean, I had this one where I doubled up to get the little bit of money, where I had in the straddle 7-4, and the flop came 7-4-5, and I checked in the button straddle, and then the guy in the small blind bets 15. There's 3 players. The other guy to my right bets 45, and I ship it all in for 120, 130. The guy folds 8s, and then the guy to my right tanks forever and then folds, and then they ask for a run out, and the 5 pair, so the 8s actually would have won. But that was relatively interesting. Not very interesting, but boring session against players who are definitely good and not very splashy. Did not lend itself well to me.
Yeah, I was same here. Like I say, never got aces, kings, queens, or jacks, or 10s for that matter. Never got ace king, never got ace queen. I did like suited broadways. I had go with 2 interesting hands, I guess. I had 9-5, and I think it was a limp pot. So 9-5 of clubs. The flop is 9-5 ace. It checks around to me. I'm about to bet, and the guy to my left bets out a turn. So I'm just like, well, okay, I'll let it stand. It goes around, folds around to me.
Oh, I didn't realize that that's what happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. I was going to bet.
I mean, if that happens to me here, I'm holding 9-5 here. You want to talk about the hammer coming down.
So I'm like, well,
I mean, I'm like 4.5xing this bet. I mean, I'm blasting it here with this and looking to get it in.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not that I'm scared that I'm good here. I definitely think I'm great here.
So let's keep the pot small.
Well, I was like, if I call here, he bets the turn. I can just hammer the turn.
I think it's too fancy, but okay. I don't remember what happened to this hand, but I didn't realize that that's what happened. I would think I was crying in my corner over there.
The turn comes, I forget, it was a blank, and then I check, ready to inflow, ready to just bet, like you say, lay the hammer down on when he bets here, and he checks behind.
Aye.
Yeah, I mean, this is where it's a jack on the river, which I think is actually a pretty safe card for me.
So now you have to bet here.
100% I have to bet here.
Okay.
So I bet like 60. And I'm like, well, I mean, ace jack, it's a limp pot, so I'm not really worried about ace jack and all of that. Mm-hmm. And then he calls and shows ace jack.
I was thinking like jack 9 maybe is possible in the limp pot, or jack 7 or whatever.
There were a couple things I was like a little worried that I got there, but I'm like, those are very specific hands.
Yeah, to be worried that just this random jack gets a better 2 pair.
Well, tell you what, valid worry on this hand.
Well, I hated that, but a very unlucky run out too.
The other interesting hand. Yeah.
You don't think you should have raised the flop? I mean, once you know the hand.
Oh, I mean, 100%. I think there's an argument to be made for it. But he was a pretty tight player.
Who was it? I don't remember this hand at all.
The guy to your right that you were talking about.
Oh, God.
I mean, he's folding ace jack.
100%.
That was my thought.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, against that player type, I kind of understand the play at least.
Yeah.
Because he's never stacking off with ace king there.
Yeah, so I mean, I was like, well, I can inflate this pot a little bit more.
Okay.
If he bets the turn, if he bets the turn with an ace.
I guess to describe this player, he is playing very tight ranges all night long for hours on end, never getting out of line.
I mean, he limped ace jack, so I mean, we can go ahead and say it's very tight.
I mean, I played with him before, same exact thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that at least makes sense to me. I didn't even see this hand or remember this hand, but against that specific player, I think I still blast it just because I like to blast the pot, but I understand that theory at least, because before I was way out of sorts on it. So I get it versus that player.
I mean, I guess you could say, I could also blast it, because there's a lot of cards here that, I mean, it'd have to make a random 2-pair, but...
You're not worried about that. I mean, if they're going to draw to a random 2-pair, that's fine.
Yeah,
and if they're going to beat you with that, that's fine.
That's a solid point.
But I understand, I would normally blast it with that theory, but also try and play a bigger pot. I mean, you got horribly unlucky, but I do understand that guy's never putting $1 in once you raise.
Yeah.
So,
the other one had pocket nines. I
think this was probably your most interesting hand, right?
Probably so.
Yeah.
It was raised around. It checks to me. I'm in, I think late position. I bet about a little over half pot, quite a bit over half pot, and get one call. The turn is another jack.
What was the flop? Did you ever say it?
Let me see. I know it was jack, deuce. Let's say 6. I think I know jack was a top card, so we can just throw a 6 out there, because it's all kind of the same at that point. It didn't connect to straight or anything. The turn is a jack, and the guy bets 50, and I'm like, that is a weird donk into me. I'm like, well. How often is someone checking a jack when there's so many scare cards that come on the turn? So I'm like, well, I call. I just think it's way too weak to fold here with nines. The river's a deuce, so now it's a jack, jack, deuce, deuce, 6. The player bets 80. And
I mean, I'm probably throwing this one in the muck.
Yeah, I kind of go around a little bit. I'm like, well, he'd have to hit a random deuce here. The jack just seems to make no sense that he would check a jack, call, and then randomly hit a jack. I'm just not buying that. I do tank for a while, because I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm beating here. But I'm like, nothing makes sense here at this point. And I go ahead and make the call, and he shows me pocket 5s.
Yeah, that's strong. That's a strong call right there. That was nice. Yeah. I didn't remember seeing the action, but I remember seeing the river play, and I was like, whew. That was a good call right there. I think you do a really good job of thinking through hands like that in the exact moment of I thought the guy had, I guess I wasn't paying attention enough to really know, but it was a nice call right there.
Yeah, nothing was adding up to me. And sometimes it ends up being a nice call. Sometimes they end up having something that they never should have, which is probably about 50-50.
I was about to say, like we always say, it's such a fine line between looking like a genius and looking like a complete boob.
Yeah.
Just everyone be like, who is this guy? Because if he just showed ace jack, everyone just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, trust me, I've gotten that look before.
But yeah, I saw that and I was like, that was very interesting. I hadn't even heard that hand. I remember just seeing the call, because I did not think you were going to call.
Yeah, it was close. Because I was like, I don't know what I'm beating here, but I was just not sold that he had a jack. And if he doesn't have a jack there and just randomly hits a deuce, I guess he just gets my money.
He was going to, but he did not. So it was a great call.
Yeah.
That was basically it, right? For that session.
I guess we could talk about, there's probably a lot of people in Houston who I did play at the new Capri Poker Room.
Oh, yeah. How was it? So this is not Isle of Capri, to be clear, just because.
Oh, yeah. Tyler was so confused.
Because you were talking about Isle of Capri, and then you're like, I'm going to Capri Poker, but Isle of Capri is not open yet. I'm like, huh?
Okay, I'm real excited about It won't be Isle of Capri when it opens up. It'll be the Horseshoe in Lake Charles.
Okay. Because
I go into Vegas. I stay at all the Caesars hotels. It's an easier way to build points. I get some comped rooms. So I've seen pictures on the website. The poker room looks ridiculous. I don't know if they're doing like pictures from another one or not. But if it's pictures of that one, it looks awesome. I mean, like Al Capri was a complete dump. So, I mean, it's hard to even think that this could be the poker room.
I mean, I kind of liked Al Capri, but...
I mean, I don't know. You must love Motel 6.
Yeah.
Tyler's like, these beds, they have sheets on them. Holy crap.
I didn't sleep there.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
No, I didn't sleep there. No. I didn't like it that much.
Yeah. It's so I go, and I know Spades gets all the action in Clear Lake. It is super popular. I know people who work there. I think it's done. I just have a problem with them not doing enough to improve. This place is so small for the action it gets, and the tables are packed in together. It's very loud. I know a lot of people who don't give a crap. I do. It just drives me crazy.
The tables being so close is so annoying. I mean, I'd rather have a wait list, be on a wait list, than be on there like whenever the two chairs hit each other in the back. That is so brutal.
Well, and it drives me crazy because like they do have a lot of tables in there. Like if it's that small, put an empty table in between tables to me, because the ceilings are very low too. And I mean, people shuffling the chips is so loud. It's ridiculous.
Wait. So they have empty tables, but they don't have. So there are empty tables there?
Sometimes, yeah. And I mean, but they seem to group those tables right together.
Yeah, that is super rough.
I mean, Is
it close enough where like the dealers have trouble getting into the table every time?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, sounds awful.
I'm not a big fan.
So like you definitely couldn't do like the thing at the other poker rooms where you have like the little table next to you where you would eat or something? Couldn't do that.
I mean, I think they have them, but it's a pain.
But I'm saying like you couldn't do it if you were like in the 4, 5, 6 seat kind of thing, like right on the back of another table. Like it's too close to where the person behind you would be kind of be in the way.
You couldn't. I don't think you can do it comfortably. I don't remember trying it, but I don't think you could do it comfortably.
Okay.
And like I say, I like how it's run. I think it's run very well. It's just so small. I mean, I think they should have just upgraded to a bigger room at some point. But Capri opened. It's an old Outback Steakhouse on Barrier Boulevard. I go there. I mean, it's a new room, so they are not like they're doing 2 free rolls. One at 11:30, one at 6. It's 3,500 guarantee. It's I think 6 or 7.
That's nice.
Yeah, so they had a lot of people in there for that, but not a lot of cash games going. They had a PLO table and a no limit bomb pot table. It was just bomb pots. But it was very big. It was very nice in there. So the things I like is like the size, the space, pretty much everything that I kind of had annoyance the other place. Service lacked to be desired.
Probably because it's new, right?
True. I mean, they had one person serving a crap load of tables, and it seemed very unfair to that person.
Well, that's on you for being unfair to that person.
I mean, yeah, it's but they were all the time you get. It's $10 an hour, and they double everything you get. It was a pretty good experience. I very much liked it so far. It's one of those things I feel like I got to play there a couple times to really get the feel of it.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I feel like you really got to go back, and you should as they're opening up, just to really kind of support them if you want them to do well.
Yeah. I mean, I always like a variety of places to play. The one thing I don't like is it's valet parking only. I don't need someone. I mean, the parking spots are 5 feet away. I don't need to tip someone $2 or $3 to, get in my messy car that I don't even want anybody to know that I haven't cleaned out in a while. I don't know. I have electronics in there. I don't like valet parking when it's not needed, and that is one thing I don't really care for.
Yeah. But
outside of that, it was a pretty good experience. The table I got, you're always kind of biased to the table, and it was kind of like I kind of got a lot of annoying people at my table.
That'll happen.
So that kind of killed it, but the place itself seemed like it's going to be interesting.
That's good. Did you play any interesting hands?
I mean, I played one that was, I played so shittily and got so lucky.
Tell us that one before we close it out. Then
No limit bomb pot.
we ended
what?
last one with you making a punt. I want to hear another one for this week.
Yeah. Okay. This is the punt of punts. So it's a PLO bomb pot. I have 5, 6, 6, 7.
Okay.
The flop is ace high on one board, and then on the bottom board it's ace high 6, 7.
Okay.
So I flop bottom set. So I have probably about 320 in front of me.
Okay.
It goes like a small bet, a call, and then like a guy like pots it for like 100.
Okay, and your bottom set here.
I'm like, so it comes around to me, and I'm like, well, bottom set in the PLO bomb pot is not that great, especially when you're only playing one board. But it's 6, 7, ace on the one I have a set. I have a 7 in my hand, blocking all the sets of 7s. The ace is on both boards, kind of double blocking pocket aces there. Of course, if someone has an aces, they love it here. So I repot it to get this heads up, because I'm like, I think I've got the bottom, and I have a 5 blocking a straight, like if someone's like randomly has like 8, 9 or something, blocking a straight draw. So I'm like, well, I think I'm good here. There's not very many combos of 7s and aces. There's one of each. I repot it. It goes to all the 15s, they fold. The guy with 95 calls. Another guy calls. I'm like, well, I'm a little nervous here. So they show down. I'm like, does one have a set over me? One has a set of 7s, and one has a set of aces. They both, it's set over set over set. I mean, I felt like when since they were being blocked, it was like a decent play. I was so wrong. It was horrible. They run it out, turn, and I river quads.
I mean, just a better player wins, right? It's one of those situations.
Yeah, I felt it coming. I mean, when you feel it coming, you don't fold.
Ride the
heat.
heat.
Just push. Yeah.
So you got to chop this thing.
Yeah, I got to. This is the happiest I've ever been to chop.
That's what I was thinking, right? So you were just lucky enough to chop this thing.
And it is how annoying the players are at my table. Like one goes to 2 to my left, and he's like, "You were behind until the river." And I mean, I just want to be like, "No shit, Sherlock." Fucking Phil Ivey over here with his commentary. I'm like, yeah, I was way behind, man. I got so lucky. I'm like, yes, I realize when I've a bottom set, everybody has a set that's above my set. I'm aware that I am fucking behind. Thank you, goddamn Chad Norman.
He was not in the hand either?
No, he was not in the hand.
Oh, God, Todd.
So that was
God,
pretty awesome.
I could see you just flying off the rails there at the end.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. Yeah. Had I not been so happy just to be like getting lucky, I probably would have.
Well, I guess on that note, this concludes the Texas Poker Podcast. We'll talk to you next week.
That was the Texas Poker Podcast. Go ahead and rack up, add time, and we'll see you next week.